Welcome to Comics Cubed. I'm Shawn Hilton, and today we're going to be discussing several different comics from Marvel to DC to a few other companies. If you want to check out Comics Cubed in the real world, we're a brick and mortar store located at 121 East Sycamore in the heart of downtown Kokomo. We are a member of Geek Street. Comics Cubed, along with Kokomo Toys and Collectibles, American Hi-Fi, Chapter 2 Books, and Kingdom Cards and Games, are all happy to serve all of your geek needs. Hey, before we jump into the comic book reviews this week, it's time to talk about some things that are happening in the comic book cinematic universe. It appears that the Demon Bear might not have defeated the New Mutants in the comic books, but the New Mutants on the big screen are going to be delayed yet again. It is the movie that simply refuses to go into any theater anywhere. And the bigger one that's definitely got a little hold on my heart, Marvel/Disney has announced that Black Widow has been indefinitely postponed. We do not know when we will see Natasha finally get the red out of her ledger. But if you want to check out some of Natasha's other adventures as the Black Widow in Marvel Comics, you can stop by Comics Cubed, and we will happily put some of those amazing spy adventures into your hands. First comic this week comes from Marvel Comics. Spider-Woman returns with a brand new issue. Now, Spider-Woman's seen some popularity due to being reimagined into the Marvel Universe as part of the Skrull saga that went down with a lot of the characters turning out to be Skrulls. She was one of them. And if you're a Disney Plus fan, you've seen your streaming service, well, Spider-Woman's been appearing on that. I myself have checked out the first 2 episodes, and I gotta admit, it was a little bit of a fun walk down memory lane into my childhood, where a Saturday morning and a bowl of peanut butter Captain Crunch was my jam, and a little Spider-Woman and all the other cartoons, that was the way to go. But this week, in Spider-Woman #1, we've got Carla Pacheca and Pere Perez, or Per Perez, as the artist on the main story of Spider-Woman, which finds Jessica Drew down on her luck a little bit, acting as a personal bodyguard for a 16th birthday for one of the richest pharmaceutical owners in the world. Action, drama, snarky stuff, witty comments. The general gist of Jessica Drew since her return has been somewhat of this slice of life superheroics. What happens to a real world person and paying the bills. She's got a baby, things are going on, and she's always been kind of considered a B-list superhero, and that's kind of portrayed in the pages of how other people treat her, and then she ends up taking on this particular gig as a bodyguard. Throughout it is chock full of action, adventure. There's just about everything you can think of from the mainstream kind of comic. Highly recommended it. It is a lot of fun. It's really well done. The art throughout the entire thing is well put together. The new writer on it, Pacheca, sorry if I got that wrong, is got a really good feeling for this particular character. Her lines are really well done, and throughout it, we're seeing a mystery play out within her. Something's going on, something's a little wrong, and that leads to the final climax of the book in which she asks to see the night nurse. So, popular character. Backup story is even better. She ends up in this new Spider-Woman #1 having a new costume. And the backup story explains where the new costume comes from, and very likely where some of the inner drama that we see play out in the first half of the comic comes from. Gotta say, if this is a whole rating thing, very highly rated. I'm gonna have to give it like an 8.5 out of 10, which is my standard for pretty much top-notch, amazing work. So, Marvel Comics #1 Spider-Woman, well worth checking out. Next up on the list, X-Ray Robot #1 from Dark Horse Comics from Michael and Laura Outlawed. Michael's doing the writing and the art, where Laura is coming in and doing, I believe, the inks, possibly the colors. And, well, if you like the work that Outlawed puts out on Allred puts out on a fairly regular basis, I think you're going to dig it. It is a sci-fi, twisty mind game going on as the lead scientist is developing a robot that will be able to pierce through dimensions, and him and his team are about to, well, they're about to prove that alternate dimensions actually exist. Unfortunately, things never go quite that easily. And in it, instead, becomes a mind-twisted, really kind of freaky layout of what really happens. So if you're into a little science fiction, you're into a little mind trip kind of action, if you like Allard's work to begin with, highly recommend it. It is a tad bit deep, maybe. The typical spandex superhero wearer kind of thing isn't going on here. This one's got a little more depth to it. Really pretty book, and it felt like the depth there was going to be something that was going to be quite intriguing. Sticking with Dark Horse Comics, next up, Starship Down #1, featuring a cultural anthropologist brought on by the U.S. military to take a look inside a mine somewhere deep in remote Siberia. How the United States can somehow claim to have jurisdiction in Siberia, I have to admit, I don't know. But this is a really interesting premise that deals with cave paintings and what is found deep in the mine itself. And what's found, well, I don't think it's a big spoiler when the title is called Starship Down. So this first issue is building up the entire scientific team, the different players, the people we see are going to definitely be part of plots and machinations to bring about whatever their country wants, as I'm sure Russia and America are going to end up fighting over whatever this starship has to bring to it. Feels to me, anytime I see this, I always want to kind of say it's a little bit like The Thing, but in this instance, it's more like any other type of movie where possibly you're looking at bringing together a large scientific team, and we need to dole out names, do a big info dump, and things of that nature. So a lot of build up. The cliffhanger style ending is interesting. It's not mind-blowing, but I gotta say the overall feel and the pacing of this book was really well done. Well put together from end to end. Definitely an intriguing book. I'm going to be looking forward to the second issue and to see where it's going to go. Outlawed #1 is a one-shot from Marvel Comics featuring all of their teen superheroes. Miss Marvel, Miles Morales, Nova, Vision's daughter, several others. Outlawed #1 is a one-shot that comes together as a horrible tragedy has occurred, and the U.S. government has decided maybe it's time to either A, ban child superheroes, or get them mentors and bring them in somehow under the government control and control it. The situation here, or the problem I have with the book, while it does bring all those together and fans of the champions are probably going to enjoy seeing the team come back together again, is we've already seen this exact same plot line used in what kicked off the original Civil War years ago in Marvel Comics, where the New Warriors were involved with Nitro, who exploded near a school and killed a bunch of children. And this one, well, the New Warriors are acting as bodyguards for a teen climate change believer of some sort of that nature, and a horrible tragedy occurs. And then the government comes in and wants to somehow either ban the superhero children or bring them under mentor controlship and whatnot. Then, I have to actually pull the book out, because at the end, they created a new agency to help in this matter, and they're going to go door to door, and they're going to start taking care of some of the problems that we're seeing. And they are the Child Hero Reconnaissance and Disruption Law Enforcement Organization, or CRADLE. There was once a line in the agency S.H.I.E.L.D., maybe one of the movies, where it was said, what's S.H.I.E.L.D. stand for? And they tell you, if you don't know, look it up at this point. And they go, what does that mean to you? Well, somebody really wanted S.H.I.E.L.D. to be the letters that made up this company. CRADLE. Man, it hurt to read that. It was so cheesy and lame. And then as the politician is saying, we've created CRADLE, there's on the same panel is a knock at the door with, this is CRADLE, coming to take someone's kid away. And then on top of it, they've got the members of the New Warriors, who were the ones involved in the tragedy from Civil War, going around helping them to round up some people, with, of all people, Speedball being involved, who was basically the giant nexus for what actually happened in Civil War. Now, I am really, really hoping that the writer of this is playing up the New Warriors angle in some kind of sleight of hand, don't look at this, we're about to fool you, and they're really not going to be on the side of the government. I mean, that almost seems like that's what's got to happen, because if it's not, the level of cheese involved here is just horrifically bad. Everything about this, it starts off with him at the trial, then the flashback to what happened. Tons of characters. I got to say that again, if you're a fan of all of these teen characters, this is going to be a great book to check out because you're going to finally get to see them all together. And I do enjoy Nova and several of these other characters, but again, to just kind of rehash what happened in Civil War, that, wow. I mean, negativity here, it was a good read as far as that goes, but if you've never read Civil War and don't know what it was all about, great, this is absolutely perfect. If you're a little old school and you've read Civil War and you remember it and you're like me, you're just going to be like, wow, the microwaved leftovers on this are a little soggy. From Aftershock, we've got Artemis and the Assassin, another first issue. And this one, Aftershock is just a company that I really, really want to like. They do some good work. This particular book follows a time-traveling assassin dealing with what looks to be historically important things in the world. That's the first half. Then we get the sci-fi element in the middle, followed up by her meeting the Artemis character, who this whole thing is named about, in World War II. I want to like it. I really do. The artwork throughout the whole thing is okay. All the way through, it's written, it's okay. The backup, which is only 4 pages, actually was, I think, a little better than what we got in the first half and kind of acted as maybe an origin point of starting thing for the character. This is a tough one. I'm going to give it a little further, going to give it a couple more issues, but final book for the week is from Boom, the Boom Box line, which is written usually for younger ages. And this one, Wicked Things #1, follows the 2020 version of a Nancy Drew-like character being, well, she's nominated for the Teen Sleuth of the Year award. And being as she is 19 years old, this is her last chance to get it. What surprised me and found very enjoyable about Wicked Things was, one, plenty of story for what's supposed to be a child-appropriate book, and that's, you know, yeah, whatever. It's hard to say how that is. It comes out child-appropriate, child safety. There's just a lot of book here. I mean, you're reading and you're reading and you're reading, and I would definitely say this is meant when we say kids, it's tweens. This is definitely set for tweens, and as an adult reading it, I'm like, oh, okay, you know, what's going to happen? And am I going to just felt like I'm being talked down to? Never happens. The entire thing is written in a manner that I, as an adult, really enjoyed it. I think tweens are going to love it. There is a ton going on, and all of it still, though, is written in a way that it's easy to process. The artwork is just as the cover shows. It's got a cool animated kind of a feel to it. I've actually gone ahead and already reordered the book. I liked it that much. I really think it's probably one of the breakout books of the week if you're into the Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, or even thought about, man, I'd like to check out something like that, but it's too old and hokey. Wicked Things #1 is the book to go with, absolutely. And if you've got a tween at home that you're trying to get into reading or into comics, definitely check it out. It is one of my highest recommendations of the week.